I saw a man come up out of the ground, and he was like a blue collar worker. I think he actually was a sardine salesman.
Like in cans or like just like in like
nets? I think the cans. Anyway, he came up out of the ground, and all before him were these plants that were just dead. They were like the color of like this blanket. They were like rust colored. And he reached out and he grabbed it and just kind of broke apart in his hand into pieces. And then in the sky I thought there was 2 eagles, but one of them I could see from the eagle's eye that he was seeing the man, and the man kind of held it up to show him, like, look, it's dead, you know? And so the eagle came down, and I think he took the whole plant, the stem of it, is that what it's called, the middle part? And he began to scratch his beak against it until the flesh was revealed. So the death of it was no longer there. It was just like the stem, and it was green, but everything else was torn away and pulled away, and all that was left was the stem. And
the
then
stem for what?
The dead flower.
Yeah, it was some sort of plant that was there. I don't know what it was.
Sorry, go ahead.
Was it like a thick stalk that?
It was like about that thick. A couple inches maybe. Anyway, so he had to, and it reminded me of this vision I had last night about like the burn victim, how you have to score and scratch the burn to get the new flesh clean, and it's painful. It was the same thing to this stalk. It had to be scraped away with a beak of an eagle, which is very sharp. But once all the death was off of it, that eagle planted these stalks, and a couple things happened here. I saw a plant being like grafted into the stalk. So the stalk was split and a plant was put in there. And then I also saw...
From the eagle?
Yeah, he's doing all of this. And then I also saw something growing. So I don't know if it was it was weird because it was like the plant was green that he was putting in there. Like it looked like it was gonna have flowers, but it didn't bud yet. So that was there. But then I saw, and I don't know if it came from the same stalk or a different stalk, but plants growing up and coming open, and all of them were yellow, but they were all different kinds of plants. So it was producing a plant, but all different kinds of plants, and they started to grow up.
Example
of the plant?
Yeah, you're talking flowers.
Flowers, yeah. There might have been like a sunflower. There was
You mean like corn? Corn's yellow.
No, it wasn't a corn. There was no corn.
Tulip.
They were just all yellow, different plants that were yellow. It was very clear that they were different, like 3 different kinds I saw anyway. And then at this point, I looked up in the sky, and there were these things that looked like drones, and it was very clear that they were spying, and the word that was used was imitate. So they came to spy to imitate what they saw. And then at that point, the eagle looks up and sees them, and he has on his foot like a band, and it's kind of like, it reminded me of like a locating band, or like if someone were to have like a pigeon, they put the band on to track it or whatever. But it obviously wasn't that. But anyway, he took it off of his foot and had it in his mouth, and it was actually a diamond ring. And from the diamond ring, he began to pull with his beak out and set up like out in front, not on the ground, but out in front, the whole outfit of a bride. So he was taking like the headdress, and he set up the whole clothing bit of the bride. And then as soon as it was put together, she immediately had a quiver of arrows and shot them all down. But this is interesting because I literally just had a vision of Kim with both of these things she shot them. They didn't come down. She shot them all, but she also had a net, and she had to net them. And it was like two things that had to happen. One, they had to be shot. The other one, that had to be netted. And I had a vision with her with both a net and arrows.
Before this week.
Before this vision.
Oh, okay.
It's the one I sent you and her.
Okay.
But just, it was interesting to me that they both had a net and arrows.
Mm-hmm.
And it was different because she had to net something first and then she shot at something next. And she wasn't dressed in a bride or anything. Just those two things were interesting. Anyway, and so once that was taken care of, she actually turned, because this is all in the front, right where these flowers were growing. And so she turned and began to walk, and the train, she had a train, which was the dress. It's called the train.
Yeah.
The train kind of moved over the plants, and there was like a harvest there after that.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I have the right
Okay.
thoughts, but I have some thoughts. At
Yeah,
the beginning,
great thoughts.
when the man coming out of the ground, that's seemingly coming up from, the people are buried in the ground, so dead. So he's kind of the Walking Dead, and he's a sardine salesman. If you think of Jesus calling people to be fishers of men, but this is this manufactured, canned, man-made. So this religious format, this religious way and format to say, hey, well, I'm trying this thing, but it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's not fresh.
Yes.
It's very. He wasn't catching the fish. He was just the salesman or whatever of the fish, and he recognized that when he sees the dead flower, like there's no life here. This is not good.
Oh yeah.
So, but he doesn't have any solution.
I see.
But the eagle does. The eagle comes and says and takes it and basically, and then it rubs off the deadness, plants it in the ground correctly, grafts in something else.
That's
Again, the eagle from above.
Yeah.
And then all the yellow remind me of like a sunrise or a.
Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of the imagery with the bridle is very clear. But anyway, that was my impression.
Then the spiting ones, those are
Again, the other religious.
this movement, false movement. They say. Yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty fit into this arena. Yeah. And then,
Felt confirmation-ish.
confirmation-ish. Yeah. Especially with your prophetic understanding of a king's life in the prophetic light. That is very meaningful.